Hello, I'm Jim Riley, and welcome to Salute the Vets. Our guest this morning is the Sheriff of Columbia County, Dave Bartlett. Dave, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me,
Appreciate
Jim.
it. Now, would you rather I call you Sheriff or Dave?
You can call me Dave, that's fine.
Yeah, because I told you before we went on the air, we want to do this as a conversation. We don't want to preach to people. We don't want to lecture people. We're just going to tell them what we think about this very important issue, and that is the services you provide to vets.
Yes.
Now, tell me, you expanded the scope of that, because sometimes when we think of veterans, you know, we have a narrower vision. What's the approach you use?
Correct. Well, so many people think of veterans that are just people in the active service. And it's more than that. You know, it's the Guard, it's the reserves. So when people come into our facility now, veterans, we've gotten away from asking them, are you a veteran, to have you served in the military?
Right.
Because in today's day and age, we need everybody, all branches and all divisions, to work together to make us safer.
Right. And the other part is you want to make sure you serve everyone also, and that's
correct.
terribly important.
That's correct.
Now, how do you work with the agencies when you look at the vets and the people who need service?
Right now, I believe it was Command Sergeant Major Flaherty.
Yes.
And if I didn't get that right, I'm sorry. But
No, I think it is Command Sergeant.
yes.
We had him on the show.
Yes.
What a great guy he is.
He is a
passionate.
super person, very passionate. We
yeah.
work really closely with Gary. He comes in and actually works with our veterans in the facility. Anytime he needs to come in, he can come in. He's got carte blanche. He's got, as far as our security clearance, he can come through. With his help, we've also started working with the VA more. Video conferencing, different types of services as far as up with the VA.
Right.
And it's really expanding. We've even looked into possibly getting a specific tier, a specific block.
Where you could kind of serve them as
where we could have them as veterans.
Right.
Right now, we're having to deal with the Commission of Corrections and different types of classifications and whatnot.
Right.
And that's what's a little stumbling block, but we may be able to work through that.
Well, one of the things when you work with Gary and you have this focus of serving veterans, anything becomes possible after that.
Everything is possible
Yeah.
with this man. I mean, he is just, he's a saint in my eyes. And,
No, he's very, very special.
Yes, he is.
But he speaks the same way of you. And the reason why he does that, and I think it makes so much sense, you have a notion of not only serving them when they're in your environment, but you try to prepare them for the community as well, don't you?
Absolutely, we do. Anybody that's getting ready to be released, we always make sure all their services are in place, any types of meds that need to be taken care of.
Right.
We work with Gary, we work with the VA, and getting everybody, including even housing if they need it,
right,
when they're coming out of the facility. You know, some of these men and women, when they come in, they may have different types of emotional issues or substance abuse. And let's face it, a lot of it goes back to when they were serving. And
the trauma that they've experienced.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got some great men and women in there that have made some mistakes.
Right.
But a couple of them actually do some work for us as far as the work release program when they go out and do different things in the community.
Right.
One of the latest ones was when we went up to the Humane Society and did some work up there, getting that ready
right.
for their grand opening. And if I can do anything to help the vets, I do. This is why we have such a great country that we have, and we owe that to our veterans.
We certainly do. But I think when you look at that whole notion of serving them, I think it really makes you feel very good about what you do and trying to just help them stabilize their lives, because the trauma they experience stays with them a very, very long time. And if you can help smooth that path on the way out, that's very productive.
Very much so, yes it is. Yes
Yeah.
it is. And we work with our staff too. We work with our staff so they better understand what they're going through. We're going to implement during our in-service training, having somebody come in and actually speak about what these men and women go through. The transition when they get out of the military, when they come back from being deployed. I have several of my staff that have been deployed, that have been over to Afghanistan and Iraq.
Right.
I have one getting ready to be deployed right now.
Yeah.
So it's both inside the facility and dealing with people that are incarcerated, but as well as helping our staff too. The Command Sergeant Major's been there for us with our staff also.
Yeah, because when you look at an environment, when you're dealing with the sheriff's office and you're looking at incarceration for people, people have a very negative view, as if it's a dark, mysterious place where not a lot of good happens. But your philosophy is one really of openness and service to those who are involved in any kind of issue, correct?
Correct. I'd love to get into I haven't even released this yet, but I'd love to get into therapy dogs with some of our people if we can. We work close with the Humane Society, And I'm also a stride swim coach. And whenever I go to swimming now, there's a young Marine that's there, and he has his therapy dog. And I said, why can't we do something with therapy dogs with some of our vets that are in the facility? So that's another avenue I'm going to talk to Ron Perez about and go down that route.
I think that's wonderful. But I like that whole approach that you're using, which is service to these people. Again, because they have troubles, because they have issues, because they've made mistakes, doesn't mean that we reject them. We actually support them, right?
Absolutely, we support them 100%.
Yeah, and I like the whole idea of orienting your staff the same way, because as we all grow, we grow together. We feel like we're helping them, but we're helping ourselves as well.
We're helping everybody. We're helping the entire community, and that's what's so great about it. And again, this wouldn't be, I couldn't do this without Gary Flaherty.
Yeah.
I really couldn't, because this man has opened up so many doors for us, and I just can't thank him enough.
Yeah. What I like, though, and I'm pleased as we got to meet this morning, because we were talking about some of the mutual friends that we have and the relationships, is that it really comes down to the business that you're in, which is fraught with all kinds of responsibilities. It really is an orientation towards service.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Helping the community, both in your facility and outside. I'm looking at our notes here, make sure we didn't forget anything.
Okay.
Let me look at this. I like that staff one. The video conferencing was very interesting. Here it is. This is the one. I knew we overlooked one that I wanted to talk about, and that is that you have a liaison in the facility, again, to help promote service to those vets.
Yes, we do. Daily now, we're in contact with the VA, giving them our population as far as what veterans are in there. Maybe some vet came in overnight, so we can get those services quicker to them instead of waiting 2, 3, 4, 5 days. There's a daily report that'll go out, go to the VA. Gary will get some information and come back to us, and we'll get services in place quicker now because of that cooperation between us and the VA.
Right. Now, you obviously, clearly, this is your lead point. This is something you believe in very, very strongly.
Very much
How do you take on that burden? It's a burden. It's an extra degree of service that you're providing that maybe sometimes in the past other organizations or institutions didn't do. How did you get oriented towards
It was
that?
easy. Sheriff Harrison started this. So.
Did he?
Yes, yes. Sheriff Harrison started this with Gary, and I'm just running with the ball right now, and it's already been all set up for me. And again, I want some other services to go in place. But it's the groundwork and the foundation has already been set for me to go.
Yeah. And I think the orientation, once you have that vision, you can always build on it and make it better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
That's
again,
wonderful.
there's some great men and women that come through the facility, and they've made some mistakes. And it's just, but we work on that. And I can think of one gentleman in particular. He was in the Army, and he's in the facility right now. And if you were to meet him, you would be like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Why are you here? Well, he had an alcohol problem.
Right.
And he's the nicest guy in the world, and he would do anything for you.
Yeah.
But it all stems back to his days in the military.
Right.
And I know Gary works with him on a regular basis, and we'll get them back out into the community and be an asset for us out there.
And I think that's true. People don't realize if you can just overcome that one thing is create these problems in your life, then you can go on to have a healthy, rich life for yourself and for the community, and that's really your goal, isn't it?
Absolutely, correct.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
I love the whole idea of service to those that come through the facility, because that service also goes out and spreads out in the community. Well done.
Absolutely, it
We
does.
appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thanks so
Jim.
much for taking the time.
Thank
We
you
appreciate
very much.
that.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure to get together. We'll have you back and we'll do an update on this.
That sounds
okay?
wonderful.
Great.
That sounds great.
We'll be right back after a few messages.
I remember the moment clearly,
I'll never forget that moment.
as long as I live.
I realized at that moment, when we first saw the damage, these people really needed us. And I was going to make a difference, right here in my community. Together with local responders, we cleared trees and collapsed walls. We had to get to the family trapped beneath. As a citizen soldier, I made a difference.
Be there for your community at NationalGuard.com.
Looking to spice up your table? Mid-Hudson Cable invites you to travel with us and meet the chef. Join host Jim Riley as he gives you an intimate look at some of the area's best eateries, from the burger joint down the street to a 4-star restaurant. Meet the people behind the scenes who prepare some of the best dishes in the area. Thursday and Sunday at 8 p.m., Saturday at 11 and 8 p.m., with a new episode each month. only on Channel 11. Meet the Chef, available exclusively on Mid-Hudson Cable.
We're at it again here at Crossroads Ford. I see you went with the Ford Escape.
Yes, I took it for a test ride and I love it. It has the navigation and the sync features which I was looking for.
The sync features. Let's go talk to someone in the service department. What kind of cars do you work on?
Fords, Subarus, Chevys.
So basically anything with four wheels, right?
Absolutely.
I got a go-kart needs a tune-up.
Bring it in. We can do it.
I'm Ron Teeter, owner of Crossroads Ford. You gotta give us a try.
Welcome back to Salute the Vets. My guest for this portion of the program is the Honorable John Nichols, Columbia County Court Judge.
Correct, Jim.
Thanks so much for taking time. I know how busy your schedule is, and we appreciate that. Give us a little view of what you do, what your responsibilities are. That'll get us started.
Sure. I've been elected as a county court judge for Columbia County. I'm in my second term.
Okay.
They're 10-year terms. I first took the bench in March of 2003. I was appointed by Governor Pataki, and then I was elected that year, and I just was reelected last year.
Okay.
And I basically do everything. I sit in county court, which is chiefly felony criminal court, family court, as well as surrogate court. I'm also a designated acting Supreme Court justice.
Right.
And really, acting Supreme Court justice is where I'm able to sit in treatment court, which is pretty much where we're going to focus, I think, with the veterans benefits.
Yes,
that
the issues related to veterans, yeah.
So that's kind of a thumbnail sketch of what I do. It's easy to say I do everything.
Right. And one thing I find interesting about that, they're quite varied. Those different courts are quite varied. So the breadth of knowledge you have to possess is pretty deep.
Well, it is, and
Yeah.
it's very challenging. Frankly, I still tell people I love to go to work every day.
Yeah.
It's a very rewarding occupation.
You're not getting bored anytime soon.
Never.
No, no, that's for sure. Now, let's look at this. I've got one gripe here. It's
Okay.
not you. It's not you.
Just one?
Just one. But it isn't you. It's the government acronyms. Is that what they call them, an acronym? VISN. Do you have any idea what VISN is?
I really couldn't tell you.
Okay. But with it is Veterans Justice Outreach, I think. I got to know here. Hold on a second. Because we want to shift over to that. I even circle it. Hold on a second. This is good. We're professional all the way here. All right, where's my note? Yeah, here it is. Yeah. Veterans Justice Outreach. Now, when you look at all those courts and all the things that you do, the veterans certainly come under these issues and problems and challenges. How do you make the time to serve them?
Well, and it's not just me. I'll start there. With treatment court, it is a team concept, and it is a court that's unlike what most people view as a typical court and courtroom. It is a team concept to, in this particular arena, deal with a criminal charge, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony. The person has to accept responsibility for it, and then we bring together a team of treatment people, mental health individuals, it is probation officers, as well as prosecution. The public defender's office sits on my team, and Twin County Recovery Services is the primary treatment agency here in Columbia County. And as a team, we look at the approach to how to deal with the underlying addictive behavior, whether it's alcohol
Right.
or it's
what is causing
substances.
the problem that brings them to your court?
To the court.
Yeah.
If it's an underlying addictive behavior or problem or substance abuse as opposed to addiction, whatever it may be, that's led to the criminal charge. Now, that being said, I have what's called, in the treatment court arena, a post-adjudication model.
Right.
Which, for all the viewers should be aware, the person has to accept responsibility for the criminal behavior.
Right.
They will enter a plea of guilty.
Right.
Right. And from there, typically, they will be placed on probation with the requirement they comply with all aspects of Columbia County Regional Treatment Court. Now, that's not just taking them to the substance abuse treatment. It's also any other services that are recommended and required as a complete recovery picture for that person, I'll say.
Right.
Because you can't treat it in compartmentalized aspects.
No.
It has to all be done together.
Yeah.
And it's really a privilege for me. It is both some of the most rewarding and some of the most frustrating work that I do.
Yeah, on occasion it's got to be terribly frustrating because you want them to be successful and
Of course.
right the ship and get on with their lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
And really, for
from the initial training that I had to go through to become a treatment court judge, I always took the view that it's actually a win-win for everybody. It's really a win for the criminal defendant,
right,
if they, as you said, right the ship and become
right,
a productive member of society. As a productive member of society, they contribute, obviously, paying their taxes, being an upstanding
right,
citizen. And really, it's a win for the system because we've now rehabilitated that individual.
Yeah, because you don't want to have this idea that you're doing your best, but nothing ever happens.
That's true.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
terribly frustrating for just spinning your wheels. So you're right, it's win-win. Now, I got a couple of notes here. These are a little clearer than VISM, whatever the heck that is. So we talked a little bit about treatment court. You want to do a little more about that before we move to vet track?
I can.
Yeah.
The treatment court is structured so that the individual is likely to be with us the better part of 18 months at a minimum, I would say. Sometimes it's quicker, but not often.
Right.
Often it requires really strip away some of the issues, and as you deal with the addictive questions and the problems, that will reveal other underlying issues
Right.
that need to be dealt with as well.
Yeah.
So often it's a more revealing type of approach to criminal justice
Yeah.
in dealing with the individual, and they're always accountable.
Yeah.
Treatment court has the possibility of a series of sanctions if they do not comply with the rules, if they relapse. They can be sanctioned. The participant can be sanctioned anywhere from a admonition, like a scolding from
Right.
me, the judge,
Right.
on through incarceration up to 30 days for every
Right.
infraction. And we try to graduate the sanctions.
Right, you don't jump to the worst case scenario.
We try not to.
Yeah.
One thing, as a matter of fact, I just finished treatment court before I came down here
Right.
for this interview. One of the things that will result in almost immediate incarceration is if there's a relapse but dishonesty.
Right.
And I just want to mention what I mean by that. We understand relapse is part of an addiction. We do
Right.
understand that.
Realistically, yes.
Yeah. If the participant relapses and then contacts my treatment court coordinator, any one member of the team, anyone, and says, look, I've relapsed.
Right.
I need help. We will deal with that. If they relapse and they don't tell us and we find out, which often we do, we have urine screens, hair follicles, we do all of
Yeah.
that testing, that's going to get you a jail
Yeah.
stint. I had a participant I placed in jail for the weekend just before
Yeah.
I came down here, just
Yeah.
because of that very thing.
Yeah.
You know, the dishonesty, and I pointed out to all the participants who were there in treatment court that that's the reason she went to jail.
Right.
No other reason. She's been arrested in another jurisdiction for other things. I said, but that's not what I'm putting her in jail for. It's because you're accountable to me. You're accountable to that team.
Right.
And ultimately, I can't make anyone who's an addict
Right.
go through the recovery unless they're willing to do it themselves.
That's right. And I think you're right. That whole notion of integrity is terribly important, not only on your side, but on their side as well. They're not going to get better without it.
No, and it's accountability.
Yeah.
But ultimately, as I tell them, it's accountability to themselves.
Yeah. That's
honest.
really the bottom line. Okay, let's talk about VetTrack now. It's a new system. How long has it been in place?
You know, I was afraid you're going to ask me that because I can't recall the exact answer to it. I'm going to say the better part of 3 to 4 years now.
Yeah, I think that's what you were saying before we went on the air.
And it's very, in Columbia County, it's very interesting. And I should say, every treatment court judge and team really has the ability to mold their treatment court what they think is the best fit for their community.
Because every community is different.
It's different,
Yeah.
and every treatment court is different. So with respect to veterans, I've had the privilege of having, I'll say, several veterans that have been going through VetTrack. And it is a recognition that veterans engaged in the criminal justice system with underlying substance abuse or addiction issues that drove the criminality really need a different focus, perhaps, than someone who's not a veteran.
Right.
And it's been an interesting adventure for me. I'm not a veteran myself.
Right.
I'm very open about that and,
Right.
and tell them that. We have a great resource here in Columbia County who's been very much involved in making VetTrack work, assisting veterans, and that's Gary Flaherty.
Yeah, we've had him on the show, and he's been very, very pleased with the support that he's received through the court system, with the sheriff. Again, the whole team concept that you're bringing together. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the sheriff's department sits on my treatment court team as
Right.
well. And what it does, it recognizes that there's a different group of resources in the VA system, the Veterans Administration system,
Right.
that are available to a person who's in need of addiction treatment and is in the criminal justice system. It is not the typical system that we will deal with in terms of the recovery world and treatment world that we normally deal with in treatment court.
Right.
So that is something actually that the 3rd District Administrative Judge set up, and there are several of them operating. In Columbia County, what's happened is it soon became clear that having the vets in with our regular treatment court sessions, because the participants all come into court,
Right.
perhaps wasn't the best fit.
Right.
And I was very open, and Gary and I had quite a bit of a discussion about that. And we've taken a little bit of a different avenue with some of the vets in Columbia County with treatment,
Right.
with the assistance of Gary. If you've interviewed, I think he's Command Sergeant Major
yeah.
Gary Flaherty, you will know he brings a lot to the table.
Passion.
That he has.
For sure.
His functional knowledge of
It's incredible.
is
Of the
incredible
system,
of the
yeah.
system,
Yeah.
which is truly something that I don't think I would have enough time to truly be able to
You
understand.
couldn't possibly do it with everything else you're carrying, yeah.
And Gary's able, literally, to call people up in the VA system, and they get on the phone with him.
And get a response.
And he can get a response. And if we have a vet in treatment somewhere and it's not appropriate, or the vet has not complied with treatment, he can immediately get on the phone and try to get that person the resource that person needs
Right.
to deal with the addictive behavior.
Right.
On my side of the equation, trying to understand the need for that unique set of treatment and focus for a vet, I give him a lot of deference.
Yes.
To tell me exactly what that person needs, where the report's coming. It never loses the accountability part
Right.
of it to me.
Right.
But it's an understanding on the criminal justice side of it that we need to be patient with that process, never letting the vet believe that they aren't accountable, and Gary always makes them understand they are
that's
accountable.
terribly important to him. That's true.
And we've had some great success stories.
Oh, yeah, that's
frankly.
absolutely true. The other thing is, we were talking about being a vet, and I was a vet myself. I don't want to tell you how many years ago, because it's kind of embarrassing. I'm officially old this year. But what I like about this whole team concept, and working with the sheriff and working with the veterans, particularly through Gary and yourself representing the courts, is that we can't abandon our veterans when they come back. We ask them to go out and put their lives at risk for the nation. When they come back, we can't just say, well, you're on your own now, we're sure you'll be okay. You really need to have the support, don't you?
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
It's a little closer to home. I'm not a vet. Of course, my father was in Korea, and our son is a captain in the U.S. Army.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's been in combat. Recently, he returned from a helicopter. He's a helicopter pilot, helicopter duty. So, very proud of him, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, we have an understanding of the fact that you can't just expect our men and women who come back from service to simply reintegrate into society without some assistance.
Having some bumps in the road. They need assistance. Yeah. Now, Justice Outreach Program?
Well, really what I think that is talking about, Jim and Gary, is really, I'll say, on our level, he's the Veterans Justice Outreach Program.
Right.
He is the guy. He's in the local courts all the time. He's reporting to me all the time with respect to anyone that he sees that he believes is a veteran in need of and appropriate for some type of treatment through the VA.
Right.
And he goes to work. He's tireless when he goes to work. And I have to say, he is excellent about reporting back to me.
Yes.
And the attorneys that are involved in the case. Presently, frankly, he's, I would say, the person responsible for a veteran. Frankly, I didn't even know she was a veteran. And she's has felony charges before me. And when I heard that from Gary, and that this particular vet was willing to address the addiction, that led to the, I think it's felony grand larceny.
Right.
So he got involved, and she has been to, I think this is her second treatment facility. This is a long-term Initially, it was a rehab.
Right.
But
then you have to go long-term after that, yeah.
For the treatment, and he reports back to me that she's doing fabulously well.
Yeah.
It's kind of an example as well, if I can utilize that case as an example of I'll say somewhat of the patience and tolerance that a court has to have.
Yeah.
I probably have not seen her, I'll say, it's been 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
I get reports on her,
right,
but she has not been in front of me.
Right.
Now that will change as she begins to reintegrate back into the community.
Sure.
Once she's done with her treatment regimen.
Yeah.
I have another, what I like to point to is a real success story with a veteran here locally. Gary was the one that brought him, got him involved in treatment court. We got him out of the jail, literally out of the jail. He, like many of them, had a certain attitude when he entered.
Yeah.
He exited with a different attitude, I'll say. And it's interesting because he was in service in the Army, honorably discharged, I believe from the 1980s. And Command Sergeant Major told me, well, he's a veteran of Korea, the Korean War. And I said, that can't possibly be. My father was in Korea in the 50s. And I was taught by Command Sergeant Major that the Korean War never ended. There's an armistice.
Yeah.
And that people are in combat there, and this individual is one of them. And
we don't realize that because with us it's historical and it's over, but it isn't.
It isn't.
Yeah.
And so he had seen combat in Korea, I think in the early 80s. So that was an awakening for me. Obviously, then he has a certain perspective on things and from those experiences. And it took a little bit to get him engaged. He did engage. He returned to work. I believe returned to his home as well.
Wonderful.
And most importantly, took responsibility for his conduct and was well on his way, and perhaps now has even paid back the entire restitution he owed.
Wonderful. Isn't that a great feeling?
It is.
To help somebody get on, because that's really what it's about. I know all the responsibilities you're carrying, but when you can help somebody be successful in their life, that's got to be very rewarding.
It is. I've always taken the view with treatment court, although it can be frustrating, like any job can be frustrating, but the investment of time is well worth the return.
Yeah.
I can't sit here and tell you what our so-called success rate is. I think it's fairly high. I think even if we have participants who relapse, I think there's a relatively low rate of recidivism.
Right.
In other words, committing another crime.
Right.
Which is a success in and of itself.
Oh, yeah, that's a big difference alone by not being involved in criminal activity again. That's a huge step.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think about now our roster in criminal court is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 people. Now, they're all at different levels. There's 3 phases. Initially, they come in every week. They have to report to me.
Right.
And they literally get up at a podium in the courtroom.
Yeah.
It's not just a session where they get to sit in the back.
Right.
They have to step up.
Yeah, here's what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I talk to them openly about issues, successes.
Right.
It's not just reprimanding. It's also commending the successful behavior.
That's right, because those are a big part of it as well.
Yeah, very big part.
Appreciate it. The Honorable John Nichols, and I might say, I'm going to bask in here, an old-time friend of mine.
Yes,
thanks so much for taking the time.
Oh, my
thanks,
pleasure.
Thanks for your service to veterans. We appreciate that.
I thank them for their service to the country.
Wonderful. And we also want to thank Dave Bartlett, the Columbia County Sheriff, for joining us today. Most of all, we want to thank you for joining us on Salute the Vets. We look forward to seeing you real soon.